Summons have certainly become a firm tradition within Final Fantasy after making their debut appearance back in 1990 with the original release of Final Fantasy III. Well, Final Fantasy VII Remake continues that long-held tradition by giving players the means of bringing forth powerful, beastly allies to assist in combat, rain down havoc onto the battlefield, and to do so in spectacular Final Fantasy fashion. Today we will be exploring each of the 9 unique creatures that can be summoned by the player in the remake, by demonstrating how each can be attained, a run through of their abilities, and any additional information that will help you to make the most of summons when playing the game. I am Simon from Gamer Guides, and you are watching our complete overview of summons in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Bringing with him the scorching flames of hell, Ifrit is a fire elemental creature and is the first summon awarded to the player while progressing through the story. In order to unlock Ifrit, you must first make your way through to the end of Chapter 3. At this point, Jesse unceremoniously hands you the red glowing globe of materia that can then be socketed into any of your party members' weapons. Summon materia is unique compared with other materia as it can only be socketed in the right hand side weapon slot that exists solely for this purpose. No other materia can occupy this slot, and there are no means to increase the number of summon slots on a weapon. This means each party member can equip a maximum of 1 summon materia at any given time, although you can swap and change them as you can with any other materia. Now, in the original Final Fantasy VII, you were able to call any summon into battle at any time, as long as you had its materia equipped and had the available MP to do so. In the remake, the summoning mechanic does function differently. Along with having the materia equipped, you must also wait for an easily identifiable purple bar to appear on the right hand side of the screen during battle, and once the gauge on this bar has been filled, you can proceed to call forth the summon. For most summons in Final Fantasy VII Remake, the purple bar will appear once the party member they are equipped with takes substantial damage during a fight. There are some exceptions, however, as some of the game's more powerful summons can generally only be called during boss battles, and not all boss battles at that. Also, the summoning bar is reset after each fight, so if you do get the chance to call a summon, then you will probably want to do so before the end of the battle. Once Ifrit is on the battlefield, he will naturally pummel his foes with fire-based attacks. Indeed, all Ifrit's abilities revolve around the fire element, so it is important to know the strengths and weaknesses of the enemies you are fighting before calling him into the fray. Aside from his standard attacks, you also have the choice to command Ifrit with 2 devastating abilities. The first is Crimson Dive, a single ATB cost spell that causes fire damage to 1 foe. On the other hand, when multiple enemies are present, you may wish to opt for the more expensive 2 ATB cost Radiant Plume. This indiscriminate ability causes a whirlwind of fiery destruction to envelop the battlefield along with any unfortunate foes caught in its path. But Ifrit isn't done yet. Once the summon timer expires, he will not depart until having cast his signature move. That move being none other than Hellfire. Yeah, you might want to take a step back. Also back and making a return from the original game, Chocobo and Moogle are in fact one of 3 Chocobo-based summons available to the player in Final Fantasy VII Remake. However, Chocobo and Moogle are unique because they are the only summon in the game whose red materia is simply waiting to be picked up off the ground. That said, looting this materia is not as simple as you may initially expect. Located in Chapter 6, Chocobo and Moogle is easily missable since you must first disable the ventilation fans in Sector 4, which require solving a unique puzzle. This particular puzzle involves shutting down sun lamps, which subsequently allows the power to be diverted to the console that controls the fans. Now, do not worry if you have any trouble in solving the sun lamp puzzle, because we at Gamer Guides already have you covered. Our Final Fantasy VII Remake walkthrough has clear step-by-step instructions which will guide you through this chapter and demonstrate how to loot all 3 of the optional hard-to-reach treasures in this area, including the summon materia. And you can find a link to our free guide in the video description for your convenience. It is worth noting that once you disable the fans by interacting with the console, you have just 60 seconds to make your way to a second terminal, which disables the timer and allows you to access the materia. However, once the timer begins, you will have to face off against a Queen Grass Trike, which is quite the formidable foe, along with a bunch of sentry rays. If you're finding yourself unable to defeat this encounter within that 60-second time limit, do not fret, as all is not lost. You can interact with the terminal again for another 1-minute timer, and any subsequent attempts will only pit you against the weaker Brash Trike enemies, which can be defeated much faster. Finally, if you are struggling with the time limit on normal difficulty, don't forget you can always drop the game down to easy difficulty temporarily, as that will reduce the health of the enemies that spawn, allowing you to kill them faster and leave yourself with more time to reach the second terminal. In any case, after solving the puzzle, beating the timer, and finally looting the materia, you will also be rewarded with the well-earned Cleanup Crew trophy. Congrats. Chocobo and Moogle use a combination of non-elemental and wind-based attacks. While it is a joy to watch these lovable creatures charging around the battlefield, knocking your enemies over as they do so, they also have 2 player selectable abilities at a cost of 1 ATB each. Chocobo Kick is a powerful stagger increasing ability against a single target, and Moogle Blast causes our pink-nosed jockey to throw a colourful bomb for area damage to any foes caught in range. Oh, and just in case one Chocobo isn't enough, the summon's final attack is to call forth a legion of feathery friends for a glorious Chocobo stampede. Our next 4 summons in Final Fantasy VII Remake are all acquired by defeating digital recreations of them in Chadley's VR Battle Simulator. These 4 fights can be very demanding and do require some well-planned strategies in place. However, if you struggle on normal difficulty, then again you can temporarily drop down to easy mode, and after subduing the summon in combat, bump the difficulty up once more. You will still retain the summon materia despite adjusting the difficulty options. So the first of these 4 summons is the Ice Queen herself, Shiva, and the battle against Shiva can be unlocked by speaking with Chadley in Chapter 8. Now, as you might expect, Shiva is weak to the fire element, so make sure you bring your highest level fire magic in order to stagger and damage the boss. However, I recommend saving your elemental materia for defensive purposes, as her icy abilities can quickly decimate your party. I would strongly advise using an elemental ice materia combination in at least one party member's connected armor slots. Now, if you have access to Mana Ward, cast it before Shiva uses her devastating Diamond Dust attack, and make sure to stay healed throughout the fight. Once you have Shiva's red materia and can summon her in battle, she will continue to excel at damaging foes weak to the ice element. Her attacks are particularly focused at building stagger bars quickly, with Icicle Impact targeting a single foe for 1 ATB, and Heavenly Strike hitting for area damage at the cost of 2. And when Shiva's time expires, she will finish with her spectacular Diamond Dust ability. Now, the second of Chadley's summons is the bizarre, the hilarious and beautiful in its own way, Fat Chocobo. In order to unlock this VR mission, you must first complete 12 previous battle intel reports, including the first 9. In combat, Fat Chocobo begins by hitting slowly but hard, so do try and dodge as many of his attacks as possible. Later on, as the encounter continues, his heavy hitting attacks will be happening much more frequently, and he can really move around the battlefield when he wants to. His hardest hitting attack, Quake Quake, sends him rolling and bouncing just all over the place. At this point, you may simply be better off guarding against the inevitable damage, but it could also be dodged completely if you are quick enough with your timing. When called into battle by the player, both of Fat Chocobo's special abilities cost 2 ATB each, but they are good at reaching multiple parts of the battlefield and for staggering foes. And as for his final attack, Kerplunk, this involves multiple Moogle companions arriving in order to hoist the Fat Chocobo into the air before allowing him to come crashing down onto the enemy. Ouch. The third of the 4 Chadley summons is Leviathan, and if you choose to engage this encounter as soon as it becomes available, which requires finishing 15 battle intel reports, then be prepared for a tough fight. Leviathan likes to repeatedly swap between its ground and flying stances, so get ready to switch to ranged attacks when necessary. His ultimate attack, Tidal Wave, can do upwards of 3,000 points of damage to every party member, so attempt to complete a stagger during its cast, or at least heal up to full just before it is unleashed. Also bear in mind during this fight that Leviathan's attacks are non-elemental, but the creature itself is still weak to thunder. Having Barret equipped with both a long-range attacking weapon and the elemental thunder combo will be a great boost. Now, when under the player's control, Leviathan can assault the enemy force with Briny Bellow and Gyre Spume, two non-elemental attacks that cost 2 ATB apiece. And its Tidal Wave ability will of course be used once Leviathan is ready to make an exit. And the final Chadley summon is none other than the legendary Bahamut. Bahamut will of course be well known to Final Fantasy players the world over, and especially to fans of the original Final Fantasy VII, where this magnificent beast had 3 different iterations. Bahamut is the only one of those 3 available in the remake, but it is almost certainly the strongest summon in the entire game. The battle required to get the Materia is also without a doubt the hardest of the 4. Bahamut has extremely high defences, it casts an aura to constantly inflict damage to anyone in range, and if that's not enough, its ultimate Mega Flare attack will easily do maximum damage to the entire party. Okay, so how the heck do we do this? Well, first of all, I would recommend speaking to Chadley in Chapter 17, as this will allow Aerith to join the fight, and she can help to heal the party while staying out of range from Bahamut's aura and damaging melee abilities. Mega Flare, that's the ability that will quickly lead to a game over, is always preceded by a countdown timer which begins from 5. Now, the best thing you can do is stagger Bahamut during this countdown, as that will interrupt the attack altogether, but if you can't manage this in time, it's imperative to survive the attack with at least one party member. Barret can do this if he has close to maximum health, while having Steel Skin and Mana Wall active at the time of the attack. With this setup, Barret will take about 9,000 points of damage. Not necessarily an easy feat to achieve, but one thing you can do as well is make sure that you have some form of auto life equipped. So revival earrings, for example, can help here, and also Carbuncle, if summoned, is able to resurrect dead party members. Congratulations if you do manage to defeat Bahamut. By doing so, you will gain access to the summon materia and can use it in certain battles going forward. The 2 ability options available when summoning Bahamut are Umbral Inferno and Umbral Strikes. Both of these will cost you 2 ATB and hit for tons of damage. Oh, and if you can position the enemy within Bahamut's aura, they will also take additional damage, which is just totally sickening. Oh, and if a foe somehow manages to survive, they will still have to face the wrath of Mega Flare. Nice. In addition to the 6 summons available to collect in-game, there are also 3 DLC summons that were made available as incentives in purchasing the game. Once the codes that unlock these summons have been added to your PlayStation Network account, then their respective materials can be accessed from the DLC menu in the game itself. And you can access DLC summons before the first in-game earned summon of Ifrit becomes available. The first of these 3 is Chocobo Chick, and this cutie was available to anyone who pre-ordered any edition of Final Fantasy VII. Now, something interesting to note is that each of these 3 DLC summons has a unique functionality. For example, Chocobo Chick is the only summon in the game that can attack with all the different elements. This means that if your foe has an elemental weakness, then whatever that weakness may be, our little feathery friend will be able to exploit it. Chocobo Chick's finishing move is the powerful Choco Flare, a non-elemental attack with a large area range. Next up, we have Cactuar, and this classic Final Fantasy creature can be downloaded into your game if you have purchased any version other than the standard edition. Cactuar only has one ATB ability, which is called 1000 Needles, and the ability is unique among summons because on top of the damage that it does, it can also inflict poison and slow effects against the target. Its final attack, 10,000 Needles, ? Throws many spiny needles which spray out in all directions from the Cactuar. Finally, we come to the 9th summon available in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Carbuncle is included with the purchase of the Digital Deluxe Edition of the game, or the Soldier First Class Edition, but not the Standard Edition or the Physical Deluxe Edition. This summon is incredibly powerful, and especially if you're playing on hard mode, you will find Carbuncle to be invaluable. It is one of a kind because unlike the other 8 summons, his abilities are solely defensive in nature. All 3 of his abilities do cost 2 ATB each, but he will occasionally cast them at random for free if you choose to do nothing. Ruby Light, Nacre Light and Emerald Light each cast full party buffs in the form of Barrier, Mana Ward and Haste respectively. Once his summon timer expires, Carbuncle will use Diamond Dazzle, which has some serious healing power. Oh, and if for some bizarre reason Carbuncle is still not good enough for you, then he has a final trick up his furry sleeve. He will actually bring you back to life if you die while he is present. Yes, he is that OP. So there we have it, all 9 summons available in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really do hope that you have enjoyed learning about each, and please do share your favourite of the 9 in the comments below. For more Final Fantasy VII Remake content, don't forget to check out the Gamer Guides website. I have been Simon, and all that's left for me to say is thank you for checking out the video, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.